Hello again, this is Dr. Rand Oman for the Human Freedom Project. We have been busy talking about some of the deeper levels that we talked about in the last 4, 5, 6 sessions. I can't remember how many. Looking back on it, it says 7 sessions. We've been talking generally about the deeper levels, and we're talking about the levels of demonic oppression. And the first level is the boardroom, which we have discussed in previous videos going way back. Then the second level is the religious realm level. We spent time a few sessions ago talking about that. The third level is the governmental realm level. The fourth level is the societal realm level. The fifth level is the comatose level. And the sixth level is the occult level. The occult level is what we are going to get to today and to talk about. And that would be of interest to many of you because I have never seen this level of demonic oppression anywhere in any book. Could there be out there? Yeah, there could. I hope there is. It doesn't matter if I'm the only one that knows this. That's why I'm getting these out, because I want others to know what I know and what has helped me to bring freedom to others. And that's why this is called the Human Freedom Project, because we want to share what we know, and God is asking us to share, and we're more than willing to do so. I've been wanting to share this stuff for years, but God had to show me enough so that, and he had to wait for the right time, because God's timing is always on time. Ours is always, let's get it done in a hurry. So you might say that I'm impatient and I've been in a hurry for 20 years. And if I would have tried to explain some of these things 20 years ago, it would have never made sense, even to me. But I've gone through the school of hard knocks, so to speak, in terms of this deliverance. And I've learned much, and I continue to learn. And I continue to press God and press into asking him more and more questions, because I'm still a child of God. And as a child of God, we are very curious individuals. And that's what he wants us to be. He wants us to be curious and to be trusting and dependent on him and not ourselves. During this long period of learning about deliverance, that is what I have learned, is to be more patient and to wait upon the Lord and to rest in him until he tells me to do something. Don't do it. And I would suggest that highly for you. It's often hard to learn from somebody else's experience, but if you can, that's good. I'm a hard-nosed person and stubborn. I don't think I am so much anymore. But I know what I want, and I know what I'm going to get, and I have to wait for it. And so we all have to do that. So if we're not patient, we're going to get ahead of God, and then we're going to get into trouble. So as we talk about this 6th level today, we've gone through all these other levels, and in order to go through all those levels, you have to go through all those levels, I should say, to get to God. To get to God in an intimate way. You can get to God and he cares about you much, but often because these strongholds are on you at these deeper and deeper levels, depending on who you are and what your circumstances are and what has been put on you, the more stuff that's put on you, the more strongholds and curses that are put on you, the more difficult it is to hear God. I mean, it's just a simple fact. So as we talk about the 6th level, we're talking about people who have been either born into the occult, which is usually the case. They're born into the occult, and they really don't have a choice because they're sacrificed to Satan right from the very beginning. And they go through horrendous rituals to become the persons that their parents want them to be, because their parents are Satanists. So what happens is, in the Bible it says, raise up a child in the way he should go, and when he gets older he will not depart from it. Well, it's the same on the opposite side. When you raise a child up to be a Satanist, uh, generally speaking, they do not depart from it, because there's so many in in God's economy. He gives us freedom. In Satan's economy, they become slaves from the womb on, and it's very difficult for them to ever get out. And as I've said before, if they go through all 6 stages, 3, 8, 12, 18, 24, and 32, approximately it's in that range, there are rituals that they must go through, horrendous rituals. And if they go through all 6 of them, they either become a warlock, or they become a witch. Or in this case, when it's the occult, it's called a hag. A hag is the last 6th level if they pass that, which means they are very strong. They are priests and priestesses in the occult, and they have a lot of power. So what happens when they go on the altar, when they're doing these rituals? When they do these rituals, they go into it with no control. They have been brought down to nothing. They're empty inside on the first level and on the other levels. But on the 6th level, when they're in a ritual, they are totally possessed. They are not part of the ritual. It's called demonic revels. And in these demonic revels, the demons take over their parts. The demons take over the person. And they're kind of innocent bystanders. In many cases, when I've talked to them, they have not wanted to be there, and yet they have no control because of all the sacrifices that they've been through before. They are calling demons in from all over the place, from the high level, from the 2nd level, and from the 1st level. So as they're on the altar, these people, it's kind of crazy, because there's usually 13 people dressed in black robes. There's a high priest, and they walk backwards, chanting backwards, chanting their gibberish that they chant. But it's not so much gibberish, because it actually means something in terms of curses. But they walk backwards, and this is the interesting thing, and I just think it's crazy. They don't, obviously, but they believe they can go back in time. And so by going backwards, by going counterclockwise, everything that Satan does is counterclockwise. Everything that God does is clockwise. God's timing inexorably moves on and on and on. There's been only 2 times in the Bible where the sun stopped. That was for Hezekiah and for Joshua in a battle. But otherwise, it stopped. It didn't go back. And in Satan's case, he tries to go back, and they talk backwards, and it's crazy to me. But it means something to them, and they believe that they are going to win the battle against God. The creation, which is Satan is part of that, and all the demons, that's part of the creation. But God is the creator. We know he wins. We've read the Bible. We know what it says. So we're not worried about that. But these demonic spirits, when these people are so ignorant, and unfortunately they don't understand who God is. That's what I mean by ignorant. They're not ignorant in terms of the occult. They understand that quite well. So as these people do these rituals, they believe that the more power they can get, the more that they can control the world and control we sinners, we Christians, who are definitely, we don't understand anything, and we're ignorant. We don't understand what the real true power is. And so as they do these rituals, they lay the child, the teenager, the adult, whatever age they're at, on the altar. And the altar is placed in the middle of a pentagram. And the pentagram has 5 points to it. And these 5 points, the top point means the head, the 2 points to the side are the arms, and the 2 points going downward are the legs. And so they are splayed across that. And then as these 13 people are chanting and going around, the first half, here's what happens is they start their ritual at midnight. It always starts at midnight. They generally have a ritual. I believe it's Saturday and Wednesdays, and I'm not positive, but I know it's Saturday for sure. But I think it's Saturday and Wednesday. And in certain seasons, like around Easter, around the 1st of May, or October, Christmas, there are repeated rituals going on for sometimes 2-3 weeks, every night. And those are difficult times. And when we are going through these times as Christians, many times when my clients come in, they're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff because they're getting bombarded every day. And because they have demons and strongholds inside of them, the curses can connect with that. And our purpose here is to systematically remove all those strongholds and curses so the person doesn't have any connection on the inside so that they can't be cursed as easily. Now, in my own case, I'm not pure on the inside. I still can sin, but I don't have any demonic strongholds and curses in me, and therefore I have peace. But the demons can still attack me from the outside in, but they can't get in. Because once the stronghold's in, there's no ground, there's no connection. And so that's what we talk about when we talk about freedom. Is these people have lists. When it comes to the occult, these people have lists of people that they want to send the curses out to. So when they have their rituals, they meet basically for the first hour and a half, and that's all about sex. Every person, every one of those 13 persons has sex with the individual in some form on the altar. Now, those persons, if they were there willingly, it'd be one thing, but they tie them down. I mean, that's the epitome of grossness, frankly. Many times it's not the person that's in the occult. Many times it's people like children that have been stolen off the street. I remember one instance where one of my clients remembers being in a white van. They used to have white vans all the time. I don't know what they have now. I haven't checked. But the occult had white vans, and they would go around and they would pick up children and bring them to rituals, and they would have sex with them and torture them. And the last hour and a half of their rituals, going up till 3 o'clock, is gradually killing that child. It is such ugliness that they would take an innocent child off the street. And so my client remembers sitting in the van and feeling sorry for this child and holding the child because she knew what was going to happen to her. But the person that picked him up was a person that was in charge of bringing in those children. And he was a man that was well known in the community, because most of the occultists are not your average people. They're generally leaders in whether it's business or church or the community, government. People who are high-level leaders are usually the only ones that can stand those six sessions to become a warlock or a witch. And so those people are the ones that raise up above the rest. They think they're better than everybody else. They think they're going to win. And so they act accordingly. And it's just pure evil. So a lot of these people that are missing throughout the country are just that very thing, is they've been taken off the streets. A lot of the people that are indigent and living off the streets, they know that they're not easily traceable, so they take them off, and they'll put them on the altar, have sex with them in some form, and then gradually kill them during the last hour and a half. And as they kill them, the blood of them is drunk by the persons and their body is eaten. It's a false communion. And they don't die. They've got it figured out how to cut their veins or their arteries, excuse me, to such an extent that they just gradually get weaker and weaker in that last hour and a half, and they die at 3 o'clock. And so when they do this, that they have a false communion, which means instead of the body of Christ, they eat the body of a person, parts of it. And instead of the blood of Christ, they drink the blood. And we're hearing about that all over the world right now. I've known this for years and years and years. I just don't talk about it. But I'm talking about it now. It's real. It's true. And I've had many, many people in here that have corroborated the fact that that is true. And it has affected them so much. And they are so dissociated. Here's the issue. They're so dissociated that they don't even know that they're in the occult when they come to see me. It's just this process brings out that information slowly. I do not go digging for any information. It's God that has to bring it out. And some of these secular counselors will dig and dig and dig. And I want to know this and that. God will only allow the person to feel maybe one circumstance and let them know that it's real. And then as we get to another level, he'll let them know another circumstance and let them see it. Because all people in the occult have the third eye of Horus. The third eye of Horus is basically in the middle of your forehead. And it's the opposite of discernment in Christians. We have the gift of discernment where we can discern that there's discernment of spirits and just plain discernment. It's interesting that I deal with deliverance and I don't have the gift of discernment of spirits. But I do have discernment, and I can, with God's help, I can determine people that are probably going to have deep levels almost from the beginning. Now, that's a very helpful gift to have as we go through this process. But it's just so sad to know that this human trafficking that we hear about, that's been going on for a long, long time, going way back to Baal worship and to child sacrifice and Moloch, way, way back in time, probably 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. It's been going on because Satan is bloodthirsty. Satan doesn't like children. Satan wants to harm children and put curses on them and totally control them through programming. He wants to do that so the rest of their life they have to follow him. So this Human Freedom Project is all about knowing that information, but then going after it with tenacity and going after it in such an extent that it frees these people, which otherwise wouldn't have any chance. They would go to their death eventually and be living in that bondage. What a horrible thing can happen, but a wonderful thing can happen when freedom comes. And so I lost count, I think it's 18, 19, 20, something like that, of people that I've helped to actually become free so they can worship God and have an intimate relationship with him and accept his love, because all of these people were put in a situation where they were made to feel like they were nothing, where they were empty, that they were Basically, they treated them like idiots. And they took them away from anybody that would show love, like their parents, and gave them to occultic parents who treated them horribly. So there was no way for them to know what love is, because love has to come through the nurturing of their parents, and they were getting anti-nurturing, whatever the word is. So as we talk about these poor people, my heart goes out to them, and I love working with them, because when we're finished, they're just as normal as anybody else. They have all kinds of problems and traumas in their life, but God gets them through, because a lot of the traumas are caused by demonic strongholds and other kinds of configurations. So as we end this today, the next session, we're going to talk about that 6th level with the same person we've been dealing with for all these other sessions, and we will get into that next time. But for now, if the Son has freed you, you are free indeed. Goodbye, and God bless.